A very good morning to all of you. Welcome back to the channel, and I hope that you must be doing great. So, let's start our analysis for 24th of July 2023. So, taking up the important topics, here we see over 13,000 detained in Manipur and more suspects identified in May 4 case. So, we know about this, but what is important is कि जो करंट सिचुएशन है इन द स्टेट ऑफ मणिपुर आप उसमें डिफरेंट स्टेक होल्डर्स यू नीड टू नो अबाउट देम उनका रोल क्या होना चाहिए वाई अभी सिचुएशन इट इज नॉट अंडर कंट्रोल एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस देन यू नीड टू ऑल्सो नो कि जो माइग्रेंट्स हैं या जो ट्राइबल्स हैं एंड जो मेजोरिटी कम्युनिटी मिजोरम से भी yesterday we saw they are migrating from मिजोरम to मणिपुर सो कैसे आप इंश्योर करोगे कि एवरीबडी रिमेन सेफ उनकी राइट्स वायलेट ना हो सबसे पहले तो ह्यूमन राइट्स की बात आएगी तो हाउ दैट कैन बी केप्ट सेफ so 6 people including minor arrested in the case so far 12 to 14 suspects have been identified and that's there. So basically एक और question है कि when this video went viral, why only after that police came into action? उससे पहले क्यों नहीं ये हुआ जो अब हो रहा है when this video went viral? So there are many valid questions. So इसके अलावा जो हम पहले बात कर चुके हैं about the ethnic composition of Manipur, the reason why this violence or this ethnic violence started, what are the short-term reasons, what were the long-pending reasons जो चले आ रहे थे and they bursted out in the form of ethnic violence. So ये हम in detail पूरा critical analysis कर चुके हैं. So this is all the possible dimensions जो आपको पता होने चाहिए regarding the ethnic violence in Manipur. Then railways post this Balasar plan to speed up the signaling revamp. It may take long years. So talking about railway safety. So firstly, we identified कि problem कहाँ है. कुछ incidents हुए उसके बाद जहाँ पे we saw कि it was because of human error. कहीं पे जो signaling system है वहाँ पे problem थी. तो that needs to be basically addressed and इसके अलावा कवच पता होना चाहिए railway safety से regarding that is an important development and what steps government has taken after that, what other plans to increase railway safety post this accident which happened in Odisha. So depending on the station size, the cost of revamping it ranges between, this is a range around rupees 5 to rupees 20 crores. So as it is being said, it might take 6 years to, as per the current plan to speed up the signaling revamp system. So आज के time में how the modern technology that can also play an important role in increasing the railway safety. So overall, it involves converting this entire system from conventional relay interlocking to electronic interlocking technology. So इस reform को implement करने में it would take around 6 years. So this is one thing. And in 12 years since the electronic interlocking technology it was introduced in the country, we have less than 40% of the railway stations. They have made this basically switch to this new system of completely electronic interlocking technology. So we need to ensure ki not just, we see these regional variations. We need 100% implementation of this system and we can't compromise with the safety of travelers. Then this is from the perspective of internal security. You need to know about the state actors, the non-state actors. These topics are directly mentioned in the syllabus. So NIA files a charge sheet against 9 accused linked to BKI and the Khalistan Tiger Force. So agency has also unearthed a complex mechanism of fundraising for the banned outfits. So kaise they were ensuring that they get the funds, that has also been unearthed. And BK is the Babbar Khalsa International and Khalistan Tiger Force is KTH. So not just I would say internal security, but even you can see कि खालिस्तान की जब बात करते हैं तो there are bodies in other countries as well. So international presence is also there. So internationally, how you'll be going ahead with this thing, and internally what steps are important. And obviously you might be knowing about कि क्या पूरा issue है when we talk about खालिस्तान की क्या demands हैं. So authorities prep up again as we see कि Yamuna crosses the danger mark. So now एक बार देखने के बाद कि how bad the situation can turn, जो कि unexpected था, but again you need to be prepared for the worst and give your best. So herein now again जो water level है, it is crossed the danger mark. So authorities they're still now they've again prepared in order to better deal the situation if the same things are repeated. Then you can find out about this personality, Samrat Mihir Boj. So if you're preparing for Haryana Civil Services, you need to know about him. So recently we see that BJP leaders, they face the boycott in Haryana over Samrat Mihir Boj's statue controversy. So several villages in Rajasthan dominated by the Rajput community, they have imposed a ban on the entry of BJP leaders over the unveiling of a statue of Samrat Mihir Bhoj, who is a 9th century ruler, with the word Gujjar inscribed on the plaque in Kaithal district. So here this was inaugurated, and because the word Gujjar has been used, so it is like written BJP Kaithal MLA Leela Ram Gujjar had unveiled the statue amid the tight security. So these are some of the concerns of the people, the Rajput community of Rajasthan. So Telangana state is going to give rupees 1 lakh assistance to minorities with 100% subsidy. So government is committed to ensuring development of these sections. Now, जब आप बात करते हो कि government is committed to ensuring development of these sections, तो उस चीज में कोई गलत या कोई problem नहीं है. द मेन थिंग इज कि आप कैसे इंश्योर करोगे डेवलपमेंट, क्या मैकेनिज्म्स आप अडॉप्ट करने वाले हो, क्या आप ज्यादा रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर करके उनका वेलफेयर इंश्योर करना चाहते हो कि ज्यादा कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर करके यू आर कमिंग अप विद स्कीम्स जहाँ पे उनको जॉब्स दी जाए या उनको स्किलिंग, उनकी स्किल्स इनहांस की जाए एंड देन दे आर गेटिंग जॉब्स जो लॉन्ग टर्म में भी सस्टेनेबल हैं, या फिर आप रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर जैसे कि यहाँ पे लिखा है विद 100% सब्सिडी, तो क्या ये सस्टेनेबल है, क्या आप कैसे इंश्योर करोगे कि जो अमाउंट आप दे रहे हो दैट इज इंक्रीजिंग देयर वेलफेयर, दैट इज समवेयर लीडिंग टू इम्प्रूवमेंट इन देयर लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड्स. वो सब चीजें मेजर करना भी बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, एंड अगेन revenue expenditure is not the preferred choice. So one time grant, it is being extended to carry out any activity for income generation. And iske alawa, when we also talk about recently few days back, we saw ki Rajasthan has also approved the minimum income bill. So minimum income assurance या universal basic income की भी जब हम बात करते हैं तो वहां पे भी revenue expenditure और capital expenditure वाला debate आ जाता है. So मतलब इसको जब हम इकोनॉमी में भी डिस्कस करते हैं चीजें इन रियल एंड नॉमिनल सेंस, तो रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर वुड बी कॉल्ड अंडर द लाइक नॉमिनल इम्प्रूवमेंट हो सकती है, आप डायरेक्टली मनी दे रहे हो, बट जो अगर आपको रियल सेंस में डेवलपमेंट करना है, यू नीड टू टेक स्टेप्स, तो गो फॉर प्रॉपर प्लानिंग ऑफ स्कीम्स. जो प्रॉब्लम एरियाज है, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है, न्यूट्रिशन आपको इंश्योर करना है, तो इसके लिए यू नीड टू हैव स्कीम्स एंड गो अहेड विद कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. So exceptional situations may you can go for revenue expenditure, but that needs to be exception. Coming to editorial page, so dilemmas of India's great power ambitions. So what are the dilemmas? So what kind of a global power will India be? So again, this is going to be an interesting thing. So happy you have the complete freedom of imagination. You can bring in your innovative points, some unique points, but let's stick to this article. So it is the main question is what kind of global power will India be? So there are those who argue that India should aspire to be a great power and assert its growing power internationally. Others argue that India should focus on upliftment of millions of its people above the poverty line, improve the governance, and reconcile within the country before venturing into making a better world. So it's a false binary, notwithstanding the equally faulty hyper nationalist and deeply pessimistic narratives. The story of the rise of India and the attendant challenges that must be proactively and critically engaged. So, ignoring or dismissing the global consequences of a rising India's power, it is unwise. But doing so without being rooted in the realities of the country's inherent limitations, that would also be a strategic blunder. कि आप सिर्फ ग्लोबल पावर बनने के पीछे पड़े हुए हो एंड देन यू कैन सी द वर्ड्स द टोन दैट इज यूज्ड इज assert the growing power internationally. So this is what China is doing, and obviously this is not something desirable for India. So जो current realities हैं इंडिया की, you need to be aware about that. उनको ध्यान में रखते हुए कैसे आप उनको एक साइड इम्प्रूव करोगे, उनसे डील करोगे जो डोमेस्टिक चैलेंज है, एंड साथ ही साथ the steps or how you're going to deal with the situation with the case when you see कि India की power globally increase हो रही है. So power and its consequences. So let us start with India of 1991, जब a weak, poor, and deeply beleaguered country with a foreign exchange reserve of only $5.8 billion, हम इस situation में थे. So for a population of 846 million, which is around 50% of whom they were poor back then in 1991, they all these it depicts a very miserable picture. So despite efforts to diffuse the fears of a nuclear war, prospects of an India-Pakistan clash loomed, and violence in Kashmir was at its peak during this time. So for like from the perspective of political stability, या फिर we were seeing community clashes in India. उसके अलावा nuclear war पे like we were seeing कि बाकी countries like USA, they had put sanctions on India because we carried out this experiment or this in Pokhran we did a nuclear weapons test, and economically the situation खराब थी उस time पे. And then collapse of India's trusted partner Soviet Union on the one hand and strained relations with United States on the other, that further weighed on the country's ruling elite. So globally भी बहुत सारे challenges थे उस time पे. So that was the situation. So fast forward 3 decades, अगर हम बात करें 2023 में and India की आज क्या position है, how we are performing economically and globally. So India's foreign exchange reserves, it has grown to around $600 billion right now. War with Pakistan, it is not something Indian leaders, they lose sleep over. And China, it has taken that place though, and there is a general sense of foreign policy optimism as well. So reforms जो हमने initiate की 1991 economic crisis, they not only led to higher GDP growth but also significant poverty reduction also. So 1991 and 2023 may, if we compare India's position, so a lot has changed. We can say this is a drastic change, we can call it to be, but again with changing times challenges also changed. So ये नहीं बोल सकते कि आज हमारे पास कोई challenges नहीं है to deal with, कोई problems नहीं है. They exist, but compared to 1991, definitely we are in a very good position. So ranked as the world's fifth largest economy today, India's nominal GDP could soon touch $4 trillion, and it has one of the largest militaries in the world with over 100 nuclear weapons. And US is now one of India's closest friends. New Delhi enjoys strong relationships with several power states around the world. So visionary investments made over the past several decades in India, they are now beginning to bear fruit with a permissive external atmosphere for the country's rise. So investments की बात करें, FDI, FPI दोनों India's best attraction for them. And then international relations की बात करें with US, even with Russia, we are in a very good position. इसके अलावा economically, we are one of the most, we can say, emerging economies, and the momentum is very strong and positive right now in India. When we are seeing ki globally, the developed world, they are talking about ki recession kab aa sakta hai. So you can see that. And India, it is also one of the pivotal swing powers of the contemporary international system. So keyword is swing powers, and it is strategically located, often playing both the sides with great elan. So geographical location is also strategically helping India. And right now, Ukraine war, maybe you can see ki how we tried and we are still trying to balance our interests between Russia and US. So here you can see the example is mentioned of Ukraine war. It brought renewed focus on India's role in the world politics. So as I was speaking, ki how India, it balanced the interest between Russia and US, and that is obviously the difficult task because India के ऊपर pressure भी था कि you need to come out with a clear stand, and आप ऐसे balancing करके कब तक चलोगे, कब तक sustain करोगे. But again, it's obviously we are not dictated by someone else or the other power, so we stick to what we wanted to. And again, मतलब इंडिया के ऊपर focus आया, that is the main thing जो ये article बताना चाह रहा है. So US and wealthy West, they want India to be on their side, and embattled Russian Federation is doing everything it can to ensure that India does not turn its back on Moscow. So दोनों चाहते हैं कि इंडिया उनकी साइड पे होना चाहिए, and there are serious suggestions that India should mediate between Ukraine and Russia to bring an end to the war. So India का इतना important role है कि basically suggestions are also saying कि India needs to mediate between Ukraine and Russia so that this war comes to an end. Because like most often we use this language of mediation in the global crisis and being a bridge between north and south, east and west, indirectly indicating that India is a major pole in the world politics. So this is very nicely written, and you can basically learn from such types of sentences कि कैसे आप answers में भी लिखोगे. So although tens of thousands and tens of millions of people in India, they still live in poverty. Domestic जो हमारे challenges है definitely वो तो हैं, but again हम उनको overlook नहीं कर सकते. चाहे वो poverty की बात करें या country's national power that has increased dramatically, making it a force with system shaping capabilities, again keyword, and intention. So whether New Delhi is actually punching above its weight or not is something only time will tell us. So other side of the great power story. So यहाँ पे बात करें, despite being the fifth largest economy in the world, our GDP per capita is only $1,947 in 2021. Bangladesh की इंडिया से भी ज़्यादा है, and Bangladesh is it is only 40th largest military in the world. So कुछ ऐसे indicators हैं जहाँ पे India still lags behind despite being the fifth largest economy in the world. So यहाँ पे एक example है of per capita income, and we have the comparison with Bangladesh. So argument for this comparison is well known. One is that GDP and military strength do not equal the well-being of a country's citizens. So जब हम growth and development की बात करते हैं तो हम ये नहीं बोल सकते कि अगर country में growth हो रही है तो development भी हो रही है. This cannot be said, and this is clearly visible कि India fifth largest economy है, despite you can see कि जो हमारी per capita income है that is so low, and the number of poor people जो इंडिया में exist करते हैं, again उनकी development का क्या, because growth तो हो रही है इंडिया में, but क्या हम उसी scale में या उसी proportion में poverty reduce कर पाए कि नहीं. So that is there, and at the same time, the well-being of the country's population, it is not equal to the gross material power that a state can bring to bear in its foreign and security policies. So इसी चीज की बात करते हुए India, it is also beset with major infrastructural and governance issues. So India में अभी right now we have to deal with these things as well, infrastructure and जो governance issues है, ease of doing business, वो improve हुई है, but starting a business without a bribe, that is still not easy in India. So when we can actually imagine and agree to this thing ki starting a business is possible without giving a bribe, then we can say कि actually जो ease of doing business है वो real sense में implement हो पाई है. So a few days of rain, आपने देखा national capital में कि कैसे people were dealing with floods, and regional, caste, ethnic, religions, all these divisions, they are still deep, and India's domestic challenges, they will continue to distract the attention of its political leaders from attending to global problems. So global problems एक side, national problems एक side, and obviously आपको दोनों के साथ deal करना, you can't ignore either of them. So in politician, foreign policy, it's luxury he or she cannot afford. So one of the most pressing concerns for India's political class is to reduce poverty, improve the well-being of millions of Indians living under the poverty line, a task that is bound to divert its attention from serious external engagements. So यहाँ पे इसी चीज की बात करते हुए, and a weak domestic economy, it prevents the politicians from allocating adequate resources for foreign policy objectives. But ये हम नहीं बोल सकते कि इंडिया की जो इकोनॉमी है that is weak, and इसके अलावा embrace power. So should India refrain from shaping the global order until its domestic challenges are resolved, as the pessimists would have it? So एक क्वेश्चन तो ये है कि डोमेस्टिक जो चैलेंजेस हैं क्या हमें पहले सेपरेटली उन्हीं पे फोकस करना चाहिए, एंड जो ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस, ग्लोबल इश्यूज हैं अभी इंडिया में, इंडिया को बेसिकली उसमें इतना ज्यादा रोल नहीं प्ले करना चाहिए. दिस इज वन साइड. दूसरी चीज है कि शुड इंडिया कंटिन्यू टू असर्ट इट्स प्लेस इन द वर्ल्ड एंड एस्पायर टू बी अ ग्रेट पावर. तो दोनों बेसिकली एक ही चीज की बात कर रहे हैं कि या तो आप ये करोगे या आप वो करोगे, बट वी कैन ऑल्सो फाइंड द मिडल पाथ. So even though India's domestic inabilities, it will continue to moderate its ability to influence the world order, befitting its size and ambition. But being unwilling to engage in shape, it would be a strategic blunder. So we can't be completely absent from the global sphere, and वहां पे भी we need to focus and equally focus करना चाहिए जो domestic challenges है. So India's ability to shape the international politics must also be a reflection of its domestic context, and its global engagement must necessarily be geared towards the well-being of its people. तो ये दोनों चीजें connected होनी चाहिए. जब हम globally बात करते हैं कि इंडिया का ग्लोबल रोल क्या होना चाहिए, ग्लोबल प्रेजेंस, तो वो कहीं ना कहीं जो इंडियन सिटीजन्स हैं उनको भी हेल्प होनी चाहिए, उनकी वेलबींग पे भी इम्पैक्ट होना चाहिए. And we can't see these two things separately in isolation. So neither is strategic or Turkey an option, nor is India's assertiveness on the global stage a matter of nationalistic hubris or officious vanity. So I hope that the things that we discussed, बहुत सारे angles हमने discuss किए, indicators की हमने बात करी, examples लिए, all of that is clear to you. Now let's move forward. So we're talking about ED's power to arrest and seek custody. So why was Tamil Nadu minister arrested by the ED, and are ED officials the same as the police officers or not? And why has Supreme Court cautioned against continued judicial interference in the money laundering cases? So let's understand this entire case. So we see that in a major setback to Tamil Nadu minister, the Madras High Court on July 14 upheld the legality of the arrest by Enforcement Directorate and his subsequent remand in the judicial custody in money laundering case linked to a cash for jobs scam. So Madras High Court upheld जो उनकी arrest की गई by the ED. Then Justice, we see that in his order as the third judge after a two-member bench, it gave split verdict, ruled that ED can subject any person accused in a case booked under the PMLA 2002 to custodial interrogation, and that minister can be taken into custody even after the expiry of 15 days from his or her arrest. So this is also possible. So the arrested minister and wife, they moved to Supreme Court to challenge the High Court verdict upholding the arrest. So what did the High Court rule? So in detail यहाँ पे mentioned है. यू कैन गो थ्रू इट। एक बार हम समझ चुके हैं कि बेसिकली हाई कोर्ट ने क्या बोला। सो सुप्रीम कोर्ट का देखते हैं कि पास्ट में जो सिमिलर केसेस रहे वहां पे व्हाट वाज द रूलिंग ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट, and this is in the context of the PMLA Act. So in its landmark 2022 ruling on the Vijay Madanlal Chaudhary versus Union of India, Supreme Court, it upheld various provisions of the PMLA Act which relates to powers of arrest, attachment, search and seizure conferred upon the ED. So court was of the opinion that all the provisions which are under PMLA, they have a reasonable nexus with the objects sought to be achieved by the act to effectively prevent money laundering. So ED की powers जो हैं basically they have been upheld by the Supreme Court as well. This is in the context of जो main objective है PMLA Act का, तो उसको और effectively implement करने के लिए ED की powers they are valid. So section 19 of PMLA, it lays down the manner in which arrest of a person involved in money laundering, it can be effected. And provision had been challenged on the ground that it confers unequivocal powers of arrest without a warrant. But obviously, this has been upheld by the Supreme Court, and dismissing such a contention, the court ruled that the provision has been structured with inbuilt safeguards that prevent possibility of abuse of power by the ED official. तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि you can arrest the person without warrant, तो ED officials के पास excessive powers आ गई, ये केस नहीं है. There are certain provisions which ensures कि ED officials अपनी power को misuse ना करें. So purpose and objects of जो PMLA Act है, it is not just limited to punishing for the offense of money laundering, but also क्या measures आप लोगे so as to prevent money laundering acts in future. So दोनों चीजों की बात है, and this act is also to compel the banking companies, financial institutions and intermediaries to maintain the records of the transactions and to furnish information of such transactions within the prescribed time in terms of this chapter number 4 of this PMLA Act. Then in another judgment in P. Chidambaram versus Directorate of Enforcement 2019, Supreme Court rejected a prayer for anticipatory bail with respect to an offense of money laundering and proceeded to grant custody to the Enforcement Directorate. So court reasoned that in a case of money laundering, which involves many stages of placement and layering of the funds, a systematic and analyzed investigation is required, which would be frustrated if pre-arrest bail आप पहले ही दे देते हो. तो जो systematic and analyzed investigation हमें चाहिए, because money laundering cases में we see कि बहुत ज्यादा transactions किए जाते हैं in order to actually hide कि वो money कहाँ से आ रहा है या किस purpose के लिए भेजा जा रहा है. So उस चीज को unearth करना अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा task है. So अगर आप पहले bail दे दोगे तो that would somewhere compromise with the investigation process. So Supreme Court ने reject कर दिया anticipatory bail की जो plea थी, जो request थी, and it went ahead by giving custody to the ED. So court also cautioned that it must only exercise its inherent powers under section 482 of CRPC to intervene or interfere in an investigation into a cognizable offense if it is convinced that the power of the investigating officer is exercised, malified, or where there is an abuse of power and non-compliance with the provisions of CRPC. So इसी case में basically judiciary को भी intervene करना चाहिए, otherwise that is not required. So it is not the function of the court to monitor investigation process so long as the investigation it is not violating any provision of the law, and अगर कोई violation of law देखता है then only we can say कि judiciary का role आ जाता है. Otherwise there is no, we can say, purpose or no requirement of judiciary intervening into the investigation process. So it must be left to the discretion of the investigation agency to decide the course of investigation क्या होना चाहिए. So this is the clear understanding. Basically ED arrest कर सकती है कि नहीं, and then custody ले सकती है कि नहीं. So this thing becomes very clear. So मणिपुर की फिर से बात करते हुए FIR it reveals horrific killing of Manipur youth. So Kokizu youth who was arrested for sharing a post on Biren Singh was being taken from court to jail on 4th of May when a mob of around 800 men and women intercepted the police vehicle, dragged the youth out and beat him to death. So NHRC records case as custodial death and issues notices. So such incidences are happening. So again, question यही आता है कि how you will be dealing with mobocracy like situation, क्योंकि यहाँ पे police is not able to basically do anything and इतना बड़ा अगर mob आ जाता है तो it feels helpless या मतलब कुछ नहीं कर पाती है police in such a situation. तो क्या basically steps लिए जाने चाहिए in order to prevent such incidences? So at the same time, Manipur situation की बात करें regarding the resolution. So internationally, we are seeing कि Imphal-based Kokumi, it writes to European Parliament on its Manipur resolution. So European Parliament said कि basically it can intervene in the situation, it can mediate, or it can, help India in resolving the Manipur situation. But again, this is an internal issue of India, and we would not like any third party or third country intervening in this matter. So an umbrella body of Imphal Valley-based civil society organizations, they have asked the European Parliament not to let Manipur become the new golden triangle of drug trade by projecting the violence between what is called the immigrant Chinkuki narco-terrorists and the indigenous Meeti people in the state as a religious conflict. So not calling or ऐसी न्यूज स्प्रेड नहीं की जानी चाहिए. This is what the demand of the civil society organization is to the European Parliament. So Japanese foreign minister will be visiting India and a discussion would be held for vision for the global south. So again, this is a hot topic these days. India का role again यहाँ पे बहुत important हो जाता है in terms of furthering the interest या objectives of global south. So a different kettle of fish. Kashmir wants Europe to taste its trout. So the valley's cold, gushing streams are ideal for the fish, which is the most popular on its platter. It was European experts who motivated Jammu and Kashmir to take up trout farming. And entrepreneurs in the Union Territory, they are eyeing a slice of market in the distant continent with over 1,000 farmers engaged in the production of this variety of fish. So this can obviously help in economic well-being, improving the living standards of people of Jammu and Kashmir, and a sustainable livelihood option as well. So not just in India, globally we देखोगे Afghanistan में we are seeing again flash floods. Pakistan में we saw a few time back again floods. So globally, how you can see the impact of climate change, and specifically in the Western countries, we are seeing rising incidents of wildfires. So that is again creating the challenge of poor air quality. And in Europe, we are seeing situations of heat waves. People are reeling under this situation. It is becoming difficult for them to adapt to such a climate. So this is the situation globally. So Russia strikes Odessa Cathedral as Putin says Ukraine counter-offensive is failed. So in this context, recently हम बात कर रहे थे cluster bombs के बारे में. So Ukraine said basically they would be start using cluster bombs, and so regarding to concern है that we've already taken up. So in this war, obviously the cultural heritage sites, they are getting destroyed and damaged. And apart from this, obviously human rights violations तो हो ही रही हैं. But what is important is, again, अभी हमने बात करी कि India can mediate between Ukraine and Russia to end this war. So main focus होना चाहिए कि कैसे this war it can come to an end. And इसके अलावा recently Black Sea जो grain deal थी, इसमें से recently Russia it withdrew. So again वो कहीं ना कहीं फूड इन्फ्लेशन को इंक्रीज कर देगा आने वाले टाइम में. इसके अलावा वी सॉ कि energy supplies they were disrupted by Russia to Europe. तो वहां पे how we saw कि यूरो की value it fell uh, at its 20-year low because of these concerns. And क्योंकि Europe is dependent upon Russia when it comes to gas supply, so natural gas supply. And that's how things have unfolded so far. Coming to the Mint newspapers, so here let's see what are the developments. Something important topics will take up them. So milk prices, they are expected to increase further because of the fodder prices being increased हो रहे हैं. So price of the de-oiled rice bran used in the livestock feed, it has increased to rupees 18,000 to 18,500 a ton. So इसके ऊपर milk prices पे भी impact होगा. There will be direct impact. Mismatch in the demand and supply, lower MSP हाइक जो की गई है, मतलब एक्सपेक्टेशन से कम MSP हाइक किया गया. So this has also pushed up the maize prices. So food inflation इस time पे it is a seasonal thing. Coming to Financial Express newspaper, so regulation only for select OTT communication apps. So authorization to replace the licensing in the telecom bill. So इस पे बात की जा रही है कि जो अभी upcoming telecom bill है, OTT apps, communication apps hai, you have Telegram, Skype, and then WhatsApp. Basically you can use the internet services to call over. So इनकी regulation की बात की जा रही है. तो अभी तो they are basically given authorization, but इसको replace करके now they'll be like they will have to obtain a license for providing these services. So government pushes for the cabinet note soon for this telecom bill. So fine-tuning the bill, the communication apps like WhatsApp, Signal, they will be regulated on a case-to-case basis. Some apps, they will need to take authorization from the government to operate based on the criteria. And the Department of Telecommunications strongly, but it is strongly pushing to introduce the telecom bill in the current monsoon session. So if not, cabinet approval is the immediate target and bill would then be brought in the winter session. अगर अभी नहीं possible हो पाया तो. So आपके माइंड में क्वेश्चन ये आना चाहिए कि why it is important to regulate these OTT communication apps. And WhatsApp के केस में भी saw कि how in various incidences it has led to spreading of fake news, and उसकी वजह से many people have even lost their lives. So this thing was regulated, but again, एक overall a broader and common framework is required. So Mauritius slips out of the top 3 sources for FDIs in India. So FDI की हम बात already कर चुके हैं. FDI में Singapore, Mauritius, these are the countries which are on the top. But यहाँ we are talking about foreign portfolio investors. So top 3 sources में से Mauritius, it is no more in this category of top 3 countries. So Luxembourg and Singapore, they have overtaken Mauritius among the source nations for FPIs into India, now ranking second and third respectively. So of late, we are seeing key FPIs, they have again started to invest heavily in the Indian markets because globally, अगर आप situation देखोगे तो India is one of the best alternatives to invest in right now because even the future prospects they are also remain strong and positive. Picture is the thing which is attracting the FPIs towards India. So changes to the tax treaties and increased scrutiny by the regulators, it has led to a decline in the foreign money which is coming through Mauritius. So this is the reason. And experts say that changes to the double taxation avoidance agreement between India and Mauritius in 2016, implementation of the GAR and ratification of the treaty to prevent the base erosion and profit shifting by India have all made Mauritius route undesirable. So basically जो loopholes थे दे वर द पॉसिबल रीजंस व्हाई मॉरिशस से हमें इतना ज्यादा इन्वेस्टमेंट देखने को मिल रहा था बट उसके बाद जो भी ये तीन मेजर स्टेप्स हमने लिए इन टर्म्स ऑफ रेगुलेशन एंड प्रॉपर स्क्रूटनी इंक्रीजिंग ट्रांसपेरेंसी तो उसके बाद से वी आर सीइंग कि द फंड्स कमिंग और द एफपीआईज इन्वेस्टमेंट्स फ्रॉम मॉरिशस हैज डिक्लाइंड. So Luxembourg का contribution की बात करें तो it accounts for 7% of India's FPI pool and Singapore accounts for 7.34%. And then for Luxembourg, it is at 7.07%. So specialized digital market yards, they've been mooted for agricultural trade. So ऐसे yards set up किए जाएंगे, they would be specialized only as digital markets अगर आपको agricultural commodities की trade के लिए like you want to buy and sell things. So panel backs the Pan India license for marketing and this move is going to spur interstate trade on eNAM portal. So here you can see कि commodity specific yards बनाए जाएंगे where Karnataka में it would be focusing upon arecanut, dry chili, maize, UP में potato and wheat, Rajasthan jeera and mustard, Telangana maize, Bihar maize and wheat, Odisha maize, cotton and dry chili. So this would be basically helping the farmers in increasing their income. So we see that recently the smart cities mark projects to show the achievements and the deadline it has been pushed further to 2024. And the cities, they have been asked to implement the labeling strategy by 31st August. So in Surat, digital logos, they are being displayed on screens that can be used for advertisements as well. So smart cities की तो ठीक है, we've often talked about it, but आज के time में स्मार्ट सिटीज में जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट एलिमेंट आना चाहिए दैट इज इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ कि क्लाइमेटिक चेंज की वजह से जो इम्पैक्ट्स हो रहे हैं उनको डील करने के लिए क्या स्टेप्स आप इंश्योर करोगे देन ओनली यू कैन कॉल द सिटीज टू बी स्मार्टर सिटीज. So R&D must focus on small and the marginal farmers, and definitely we require more funds for farm mechanization. So the biggest challenge for India's agricultural sector is improving the productivity. So obviously जब हम productivity की बात करें तो farm mechanization maybe we would be requiring more funds. So overall farm mechanization level in the country according to the panel is around 47%. China में it is 59.5. Brazil में it is 75%. And research and development के लिए भी obviously we would be requiring the funds in the context of agricultural sector. So 30% cut in the money allocation in the last 4 years. So instead of increasing, we have seen a 30% cut in the availability of funds. So currently we see about 86% of the total land holdings जो India में हैं, they are in small and the marginal size groups which need special efforts for its mechanization. So obviously directly जो small and marginal farmers है, they don't have that much of funds कि वो mechanization या machines में invest कर सकते हैं. तो 86% is the number and obviously we can't ignore them and we can't overlook them. So under the submission on agricultural mechanization scheme, agriculture ministry is providing a subsidy of around 40 to 50% of the cost of equipments to the small and marginal farmers for the purchase of tractors, power tillers, combine harvesters, rotavators, and rice transplanters. So this तरीके से government is helping them by providing subsidy of around 40 to 50%. So according to RBI data, banks they write off the bad loans worth rupees 2 trillion in 2022-23. So loan write-offs by the banks, we understand the trend. So you can see it has been rising since 2015-16. So it hit the peak in 2018-19. Iske baad was at the same level. We started seeing a decline and then again a rise in 2022-23. So recovery from these write-offs in the 5 years, वहाँ पे भी we are seeing great improvement. So दोनों चीजें important है, मतलब अगर लोन write-offs कम होंगे and NPAs revive हो रहे हैं तो वो सबसे best alternative या best possible way है when we talk about the strength of India's banking system. But अगर loan write-offs increase हो रहे हैं and recovery भी increase हो रही है तो that is also something we can accept. So this we are seeing, and the huge loan write-offs aided the banks to bring down their gross NPAs or the loan defaulted by borrowers to a 10-year low of 3.9% the advances in March 2023. So ये एक तरीका है how NPAs can be reduced by loan write-offs by the banks, क्योंकि वो बैंक की जो balance sheets हैं वहां से वो हट जाते हैं. जो asset reconstruction companies हैं they then take steps so as to recover amount from those loans. So recovery amount is also seeing improvement, so that is also something good and acceptable. Coming to Indian Express newspaper, so let's see the important topics. So it is believed that radio callers की वजह से cheetahs they had the severe infection, इसके वजह से they might have died as well. So far, like we've lost a great number. So success of the translocated cheetahs, this mission, इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन रेज किए जा रहे थे कहाँ पे we are faltering, what can be done so that जो बाकी population, cheetah population that survives. So US also issues a statement about this sexual assault video from Manipur. So they said they're deeply concerned about it. And so the US State Department spokesperson called the incident brutal and terrible and said US conveyed its sympathies to the victims. So you can see how these incidences, obviously, they would be impacting India's image at the global level. So it is not just, domestic, but again, issue is domestic, but again, kahin na kahin jo social media hai and things they get viral within seconds. So it definitely impacts India's reputation at the global level. So what is zero FIR? So in the case where two women they were paraded naked in Manipur, authorities they have failed to act after the zero FIR. So as I raise this question कि सिर्फ जब ये वीडियो वायरल हुई तो उसी के बाद ही why we are seeing the police coming into action, इससे पहले what was the police doing? So what is zero FIR? When a police station receives a complaint regarding an alleged offense that has been committed in the jurisdiction of another police station, it registers an FIR and then transfers it to the relevant police station for further investigation. So this is called a zero FIR and no regular FIR number is given for this. And after receiving the zero FIR, the police station concerned registers a fresh FIR and then they start the investigation. So this is basically the idea behind zero FIR and what is the purpose of it. So objective is to ensure victim they don't have to run from pillar to post to get a police complaint registered. So provision is meant to provide speedy redressal to the victim so that timely action that can be taken after the filing of FIR. So main purpose यही है कि we are able to ensure the delivery of justice in the best and the quickest possible time. So the ethanol impetus, we talk about ethanol blending. So distillers, they have diversified from molasses to a range of feedstocks, enabling the blending rates with petrol to more than double to 11.75% in past 5 years. And the differential pricing policy for ethanol, even that has helped. So here we have the trend of average ethanol blending with petrol in terms of percentage. So in 2013-14, we were at 1.6%. Right now we are at 11.75%. Ethanol, it is basically 99.9% pure alcohol that can be blended with petrol. So it is different from the 94% rectified spirit having applications in paints, pharmaceuticals, personal care products, and other industries, and 96% extra neutral alcohol that goes to make potable liquor. So it is different from both these. And sugarcane, definitely that offers uh, the raw materials for production of ethanol. So here it can also help the farmers. So that is thing. So inside the world's biggest office space in Surat, Gujarat. So this is the aerial view of the Surat Diamond Bourse. So Surat, it is now home to what is being called the world's biggest office space, which is the Surat Diamond Bourse. And Prime Minister tweeted that Surat Diamond Bourse showcases the dynamism and growth of the Surat's diamond industry. It is also a testament to India's entrepreneur spirit. So we are talking about one side, basically जो ऊपर से दिखता है कि here we are opening the world's biggest office for the diamond industry, but at the same time few time back again हमने बात करी थी about a case study about these people who are working in the diamond industry and their sufferings. So that also needs to be addressed. You can't again overlook and just say that we're performing very nicely and all of that. So why do we actually require a new diamond bourse? So here it has been planned to expand and shift the diamond trading business from Mumbai to Surat. So that is the hub for cutting and polishing of the diamonds. When Surat की बात करते हैं तो Surat's diamond trading market is located at present in Mahidharpura Hira Bazaar and Varcha Hira Bazaar, where the traders they make transactions standing on the streets with almost no security measures. So major part of the diamond trading, however, it happens in Mumbai at Bandra Kurla complex, which has the amenities of international buyers. So sources in the diamond industry, they say कि Mumbai, it has a space crunch and office real estate is pricey. So इसकी वजह से Surat was the alternative. So cure for HIV hopes have been raised by and limitations of the stem cell transplant. So कैसे stem cells they can help in curing HIV is the thing. So what do we know about the Geneva patient? So here living with HIV since 1990s, Geneva patient underwent a stem cell transplant in 2018 for an aggressive form of leukemia. So leukemia is a blood cancer. And 1 month after the transplant, his doctors found a significant reduction in the number of HIV infected cells. So far the results are promising, and they then started reducing his medicines and they stopped them in 2021. So 20 months later, his test, they did not find any viral particles, latent reservoirs of the infection, or elevated immune response against the virus. So this is quite promising. And unlike the 5 previous cases we saw, the Genoa patient cells, they continue to be susceptible to HIV, and researchers, they can't rule out the possibility of his HIV returning. So ये कुछ concerns भी हैं. So obviously again, आप एक पेशेंट के जो आपको रिजल्ट्स मिले उसको आप यूनिवर्सलाइज नहीं कर सकते या नहीं बोल सकते कि दिस इज गोइंग टू बी ट्रू फॉर ईच एंड एवरी पेशेंट. So can the stem cell transplant it become a routine treatment for HIV? So it is highly unlikely right now. There are 38 million people who are living with HIV currently, and it would be impossible to find a matching donor for all of them. So that is basically the challenge. And in addition, the CCR5 delta 32 mutation, it mainly occurs in Caucasians, meaning it would not be very difficult to find the donors for the patients from high burden countries, mainly in Africa. तो वहाँ पे challenge नहीं होगा, but obviously बाकी countries का क्या होगा फिर? So these are some of the concerns. So South Asia nuclear zone, India and Pakistan, they need to urgently initiate a dialogue on the nuclear weapons, insulate it from the vagaries of politics, reduce the mutual suspicion, and enhance more transparency. So this is one angle. You can just go through this article. So islands of prosperity, Indians with a significant discretionary capacity might be a small section of the country, but they constitute a market larger than several economies. So for a lower middle income economy, where the daily wage for a large section of the labor force is less than rupees 400, India now has a sizable number of upper middle income households. So growing interest in the country for setting up both the shops and workshops reflects this duality. So considering the lament in the past over the inability to accurately estimate the Indian middle class households with significant discretionary spending capacity, the sheer range of the firms they are now venturing into the country is indicative of not of the potential down the line, but of the market now. So basically, यही है कि India has been a great attraction for the investors globally. Then for different states, you have their share. So as incomes of the countries in the upper middle income group range, it is from $4,256 to 13,000 as per the World Bank. So most of these cities are already in that category. So basically talking about ki India ka move from the lower middle income country to upper middle income country category. And though their distributions they are skewed, but again, given the size of the population that we have, they have considerable heft. So overall size of the market in these cities, they could well rival other geographies like Philippines and Vietnam. So let's take up this article as well. How not to tame the inflation. मतलब क्या steps नहीं लेने चाहिए, क्या policy measures नहीं होनी चाहिए in order to regulate inflation. So export bans, stocking limits can be counterproductive, and India needs to use import policy liberally. So we see that the June Consumer Price Index inflation figures of 4.8% is discomforting for the RBI as well as the government. Further, we see erratic monsoon. It has raised the risk of inflation. So we are seeing huge amount of regional disparities in terms of rainfall distribution. So उसकी वजह से भी we expect the food inflation to go up in coming times. Government has imposed ban on the exports of white rice so that हम सीरियल इन्फ्लेशन को टेम करने में सक्सेसफुल हो पाए बट विल दिस मूव सक्सीड और नॉट सो आवर रिसर्च सेज it will not succeed. So according to authors, they feel that this step of export ban is not going to help in taming the inflation. So here it is talking about the case of wheat prices. So wheat के केस में भी हमने बैन कर दिया था wheat exports पे in May 2022, and इस साल जून में it further tightened the grip on the markets by imposing stocking limits on the traders and the processors. But still we see inflation in wheat, it has been in the double digits. So reason is कि policy makers, they are using instruments of 1960s in order to control the situation in today's times, but obviously things have changed. So policy measures also need to change. So such bans on exports के बाद करे strangulation of domestic markets, it will not be appreciated at all by the G20 countries. So rice export ban, it will hurt the African countries most because rice prices are likely to go up internationally also because internationally supply would be seeing fluctuations and a dip. So demand supply mismatch would be the reason of rise in the inflation in other countries जो India के ऊपर dependent है. So India is the largest exporter of rice, accounting for almost 40% of the global rice trade. So instead of going for export ban, basically this article is saying कि आपको जो import policy है वो liberally use करना चाहिए instead of banning the exports. So एक इन्होंने केस स्टडी ली wheat के केस में कि सिमिलर जो हमारी अप्रोच थी that was similar, but again results हमें नहीं मिले जो desired results थे in terms of wheat prices, क्योंकि आज के टाइम में भी wheat inflation is still in the double digits. And domestically, it reflects a knee-jerk reaction, strong pro-consumer bias, and which is also anti-farmer. So farmers, obviously, अगर आप export ban कर रहे हो तो farmers की income impact होगी. अगर उनको like international markets में they are getting better prices, so it would hurt them. And then again, knee-jerk reaction है and strong pro-consumer bias की मतलब first you were thinking about the domestic consumers internationally चाहे वो कैसी भी तरीके से impact करे. So this is not, something which is not posing out a positive picture. So export ban on the rice, wheat, stocking limits on the wheat up impose kar dete ho. That also makes a mockery of the agricultural marketing reforms that the now withdrawn farm laws they are trying to achieve. So there's no doubt that cereals and products inflation that is at a higher level, and it contributes about 22% to CPI inflation as it has a high weight of 9% in the food group in the CPI basket. So inflation rate for the wheat stands at 12% despite recent ban on the exports and the stocking limits on traders and processors. So wheat ki inflation hum nahi kam kar paye. Government is already giving free rice or wheat to more than 800 million people under this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. So one wonders why it has been taken extreme steps such as banning the exports or putting the stocking limits. क्योंकि government तो ensure कर रही है कि जो specifically poor people है they are getting wheat and rice under this scheme. तो आपको export ban करने की क्या जरूरत है? You are having sufficient amount of stocks domestically in terms of जो FPI के पास stock है. तो आपको एक्सपोर्ट पे बैन करने की क्या जरूरत है? सो दीज मेजर्स दे बिट्रे अ सेंस ऑफ पैनिक एंड इंडिकेट गवर्नमेंट्स लैक ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑन हाउ टू टेम द इन्फ्लेशन इन अ मार्केट इकोनॉमी, क्योंकि आज के टाइम में वी आर नॉट लिविंग इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ 1990s and this is a globalized world where we're interconnected, so you need to take into account these considerations as well. So what could be the better way out to tame the wheat and rice inflation or cereal inflation की अगर हम बात करें? So reducing the import duty on wheat from 40% to say 10%, that can help. And even for rice, we can unload the excess stocks in the open market at lower prices than what the FCI it has been doing recently. So इससे immediate relief हमें मिल सकता है. जो imports हैं, again अगर आप import duty कम कर दोगे तो prices कम हो जाएंगे. And उसके अलावा जो rice का excess stock है with FCI, उसको आप ओपन मार्केट में रिलीज कर दो एट लोअर प्राइसेस, तो सप्लाई इंक्रीज हो जाएगा, तो ऑटोमेटिकली प्राइसेस वुड आल्सो कम डाउन. So there is also a need to revise the weight of food and beverages in the CPI basket. So this is also a requirement, but again, इसका कोई immediate या short term impact नहीं होगा. It would take time. And this is outdated and it is based on 2011 consumption survey. So अभी जो current weightage है in the CPI basket, that is based according to 2011 consumption survey. So obviously things have changed drastically today. So accordingly, weightage of the food and beverages also needs to be changed accordingly. So weight currently it is 45.6% and food alone is 39%. So Angel's law की बात के लिए, it clearly shows us that with rising per capita income, people they will spend less on food. So since per capita income is improving or as it improves according to this law, तो जो लोग हैं consumers हैं, they spend less on food. So accordingly, the weightage in CPS basket that needs to be reshaped. And another food item जिसमें हमें inflation को control करने की जरूरत है, that is milk and the milk products. So this is another area. इसके अलावा pulses and products, वहाँ पे भी we are seeing inflation. So there also we see regions which are dependent on rainfall for the pulses cultivation like Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra. They may see a reduced output because of anticipated adverse weather conditions caused by El Nino and the monsoon. So उसकी वजह से आने वाले time में we expect the pulses prices to also go up. So to sum up this entire discussion, India can contain the CPI inflation within 6% provided it uses the import policy for the food products liberally and well in time. So obviously timing matters, specifically जब हम inflation को control करने की बात कर रहे हैं. Else don't be surprised if it breaches the 6% barrier of RBI's price band in September, October and November. So अगर अभी ये steps नहीं लिए गए, so it would not be a surprise कि inflation फिर से 6% का level cross करेगी during the second half of 2023. So this we've already taken up, the bank's write-off. So net interest margin के बारे में आपको बताना चाहिए. Banks they expect 10 to 20 BPS compression in the net interest margins due to deposit repricing. So net interest margin basically it shows इससे बैंक को actually पता चलता है कि उनकी net income क्या हो रही है through the interest rates that they are earning. So bank it basically charges interest rate at two levels. एक तो it provides you with the interest rate on जो भी आप deposit करते हो in the banks, and another is जो bank loan देता है तो उस पे you have to pay back the interest. So जो इन दोनों interest rate का difference होता है उससे आपको मिलता है net interest margin and actually बैंक की जो income हो रही है through the interest. So welfare schemes for gig workers, very important topic. Again, क्या welfare schemes हो सकती हैं, क्या challenges हैं? We had the 4 codes, labor codes, उसमें भी gig workers are included. So that's another important topic. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us in today's analysis session. I hope the things are very clear. There were a lot of important topics today that we took up. And do subscribe to our channel and hit the like button if you haven't so far.